When Nathan and his family moved onto my street, directly across the street from my family, it was the best thing that had ever happened to me to date. Now, I should say I was 4, so it's not that big a deal. Not a lot had happened at that point, but it was perfect because, and this is important, he was 4, right? Which is the most important part when you're 4 of finding a new best friend. I had a neighborhood best friend already, but to be honest, he was a bit of a crybaby, and I'm not sure that he really felt mutually the same about the whole best friends thing. But Nathan was here now, and it was perfect, and they were the best because they just moved here from Boston, and so they had cool accents and they said different words. Things just weren't cool with them. They were wicked, which was awesome. And not only that, Nathan's older sister was 7, and my older sister was 7, so it was just perfect. And Nathan was the best kind of friend to have growing up. I mean, firstly, because his family allowed him to have video games and sugary cereals, so that was great. We could just go over there anytime we wanted. But he was also a really sweet kid and a good friend to have. There was this box of Captain Crunch in the pantry at Nathan's house that I knew and Nathan knew was for me, but his mom didn't know because Nathan was such a good friend. He would keep getting his mom to buy more Captain Crunch, my favorite cereal, just for me. And whenever I would come over, I would get to have a bowl. That's a good friend. He had learned how to ride a bike before I did, and I would get embarrassed sometimes when he would say to the other neighborhood kids, let's ride bikes, because I only rode a scooter at that point. But he was so kind, he learned to say instead, when I was around, hey guys, let's ride bikes and scooters. And it was actually Nathan and my older sister who taught me to ride my first bike. We were good kids, fundamentally, do your homework right after school, listen to what's been said to you kind of kids. When we were 6, we tried running away. We only made it about a block, and we just spread blankets out on some neighbor's lawn and then sat there for about 20 minutes and then thought, I think we made our point, and went back. When we were 10, we were playing on a street in our neighborhood close to us, and we found this small, dead bird. And we just felt all of a sudden that this wasn't okay, that this bird should just lie here, and we needed to do something about this bird. We needed to celebrate its life. So the first thing we did is we gave it a name, which was D-Bird, short for dead bird. We weren't very creative. And then we mourned D-Bird. It was raining, and we looked up into the cloudy gray skies and just shouted, "Why, D-Bird, why? Why did you have to leave us? You were so young, D-Bird!" And we were half joking, but only half. After that, we decided it needed a proper burial, so we went back to my house and we dug a tiny grave for it in my front garden, and we had a service for it, and we were, good, politically correct children of the 90s, and we didn't want to assume anything about D-Bird's, preferred faith. So we decided he was birdish and should be buried in that tradition. And just to be safe, on his tiny paper tombstone, we drew every religious symbol that we knew, So both a cross and a Star of David, those two. We were young. We were mostly good kids. At a certain point, things started to shift a little bit. Cap guns came into the mix, and then frying bugs with magnifying glasses. One time when we were probably 11, we lit a small fire that got a little bit out of control in front of my parents' house and made a big mark on the sidewalk, and they were pretty upset about it. And we got that and realized we couldn't do that anymore. But really what we just realized is we couldn't do it on the street anymore because we also knew we weren't done with burning shit. We were just getting started. And so we had to move our operation to another place. And the place we decided to move it to was obvious. There was an easy choice. Where we grew up, just on the edge of our neighborhood was this massive ravine. It was this crazy, wild space that was kind of lawless. There was a park in the neighborhood that we played on the jungle gym, and in the street, we climbed on the climbing tree. But in the ravine, shit was different. As soon as we could, we would go down there, sometimes with our sisters, and just get fucking weird and wild. We would get muddy and crazy. We would just bring back treasures from the bed of the stream, the muddy, shitty little stream that ran through. And the treasures we brought back were garbage, just trash, because the ravine was like half jungle and half landfill. It's just this crack in the city that couldn't be filled in, and people were like, I guess it's a park, call it a park, Let them throw their trash down there. There was shopping carts in the bottom of the ravine. I remember as a little kid just not understanding how the fuck there could possibly be shopping carts down there. Who is doing their shopping at the bottom of a ravine? It's just lawlessness. And we loved it. And so when we needed a place to keep burning things, we knew where to go right away, and we would descend these wooden stairs down into the ravine, and we found the perfect spot, this rock in the middle of a shitty stream that we burned stuff on. We called it the Burning Rock. Still not good with names, very literal kids. And we would just bring stuff to burn there and pour lighter fluid on the surface of the water and burn that, and we're like, this is so much fun, this is the best shit ever, because there was something happening, we just had this urge, and the type of urges we had of the things we wanted to do were best suited now in the ravine. Like when I found a pack of Du Mauriers that had been run over by a car, probably a lot of cars, they were basically completely flat, and I brought them to Nathan, and I was like, dude, we gotta smoke one of these. We knew where to go to do that. And we didn't just smoke flat cigarettes down there, we'd smoke anything. We'd smoke just leaves off the ground and pack them into these fake bamboo shitty things down there. We're kind of hollow and smoke them like cigars and be like, oh, okay, I guess we're adults now. That was all fun and good and well, and also fun and good well. I think that's how it goes. And until one day in grade 7, when Nathan came up to me, we went to different schools, and he told me about a kid in his school who had an older brother named John who could hook up the primo shit. And by the primo shit, of course, I mean illegal fireworks for the United States of America. And so we set up a time a couple weeks later where I would go over to their house and check out the fireworks. And then I met John, who, to a kid that likes to burn things, that's 13 in 1999, is the coolest possible person. He was acne ridden and in grade 10, and he had total hackers, Matrix style going on, just long black trench coat and ninja stars and just computer parts everywhere. And I'm like, fuck, this guy's rad. When we got there, he opened up this case of just every imaginable type of explosive device, or small-time explosive device. And the thing about these American fireworks compared to the ones that we shoot off on Victoria Day is the ones we shoot off shoot up and then make a little prettiness. These ones from the States, they just blow up. They're just little fucking dynamite, and he had all of them. And we were so excited to get our hands on them. I remember sitting next to him after he sort of told us about them, and there was a moment of silence, and And they said to me, the exact trade is fireworks for porn, if you must know. And I hadn't asked, I was like, oh, cool, John. And then I saw porn for my first time, like moments later. I remember just sitting there and watching the screen and being like, oh my God, like what the fuck am I seeing? It was a gangbang scene. And what I remember in particular was there was one guy who was waiting for his turn on the side and he was jerking off. And I remember looking at that and being like, whoa, that is a much more efficient way to masturbate. I didn't have to hump anything anymore. So that's how it started. That's how Nathan and I became our respective schools' fireworks distributors, We became dealers, and of course, as a dealer, I needed a place to hide my stash, and I had an obvious choice, which was a tin that my mom had given to me when I was probably 6 for Valentine's Day that originally came with chocolates in it, but I now use to store my ball bearing collection. Every time I find a ball bearing, I put it in the tin. It's pretty simple. On the cover of the tin was this small boy, and he's so cute, and he's carrying this pie that's filled with, instead of berries, little hearts that are just kind of floating off. The sweetest kid in the world. In fact, above that it said Sweetie Pie. And he had, out of his pocket, a lollipop, a candy cane, a frog, and a slingshot, just kind of falling off this little boy, Sweetie Pie, And so I dumped out my ball bearings and put in the fireworks. That was my new home for that. And honestly, I don't remember if we ever did actually sell any fireworks. I think it was more about the idea, but we definitely had them after that. And what we would do is we would just walk around the neighborhood and discuss, what would be the best thing to blow up in this particular situation. I remember looking at a Toronto Starbucks box at the coin return, and I'm saying to Nathan, I think just a regular cherry bomb would do it. And he's like, I don't know, man. I think we got to go M80. I really think so. He was right. It was pretty cool. Around this time in the park in our neighborhood, we found a second dead bird, D-Bird 2. And D-Bird 2's body was disposed of in a much less ceremonious way. Oh, I get what you're thinking. No, that's not it. Instead, we stacked up picnic tables to get onto the roof of the tennis clubhouse and then just stuffed his body down like one of the pipes. Times had changed. After the deed, we were still sitting on the roof just proud of ourselves, and I remember turning to Nathan and being like, man, we gotta tell John about this. I don't think we really thought we were being bad. We knew enough to run away when we lit the fuse, but I don't think we really realized that we were sort of pushing away from the type of play that we've been doing in our childhood. I feel like we just felt it was sort of the same, but now we were starting to run into consequences. Like one time, it was me and Nathan and a third friend, and we were trying to balance a cherry bomb on the lattice of this fence in our neighborhood, and we were trying to get it just right before we lit it, and then the dude whose fence it was came out of his door in a wife beater, and he was huge. He was like, hey, what the fuck are you doing in my fence? And just started running after us, and me and Nathan went this way, and our friend went that way, and he caught up with our friend and just threw him to the ground and ripped the sweater and, scared the shit out of him. And then he let us off because he thought we were doing graffiti, so I guess we got lucky, but that was pretty real. We'd never had anything like that happen to us so far. Another time, actually, on Victoria Day, we went to our local convenience store and we bought underage, just regular old Roman candles and stuff, and we went to the park early before everyone else, and we were just shooting them off in our hands, just having fun. And the cops show up. And the cops put us in the back of the cop car, but instead of taking us home like we expected, they took us back to the convenience store. And then we watched as the convenience store owner that we had been buying sour keys from now for a decade lost his mind with anger at his wife who'd sold them to us and threatened her and knocked over the entire fireworks display. shit was pretty real. Over the ravine that we played in was the St. Clair Bridge, this massive structure that we'd gone on back and forth a million times to get anywhere, to get everywhere. And when you're on that bridge, you can almost forget that the ravine is beneath you. It's perfectly flat, but the bridge had been there the whole time. And beside the bridge the whole time had also been the Dominion grocery store. And I don't even think we talked about it that much. I don't even think it was a conscious decision the night that we walked by and just looked at the shopping carts and said, oh yeah, it's going down. And we grabbed them and giddily push it towards the bridge. And then we went together and threw it over the edge and started to run, but then we stopped. And when I think back on us doing this, I don't think about the crash. I mean, I do. It was loud, but what I really remember was this silence as we stopped to listen, to hear what we had done. It was just completely empty and nothing, and we just stood there listening, and it felt like it stretched on forever, you know. And this is before everything changed for real. This is before high school happened. This is before girlfriends. This is before the sweetie pie tin became where I store my condoms, right? This is before Nathan and I didn't talk that much for years, before we really learned how to be friends again, you know? In this moment, it was just silence. It was before all that. We were just two best friends, still kids, just barely listening and just anticipating the crash. Thank you.